So, good evening for another workshop, writing workshop, science fiction, cyberpunk, science, novel writing, narration. I also answer questions about publishing, writing, editing, anything in that regard. Goal of this workshop, so this is running now for since a few months now, is to talk together about narration, editing, tools, how to write a novel, how to create characters, how to tell a story. And part of the workshop is also to talk about a novel I'm currently writing. And today I will continue writing on that. Last time, that was 2 weeks ago, I did a lot of critical analysis, what I wrote 2 years ago. So it's a novel I started 2 years ago, but then let it on the side. And now, like with new experience, new knowledge, I analyzed that novel and started to rewrite it basically. And I invite you to join me in writing and in improving the book and writing better characters, writing new characters. I'm mainly focused on the screen here, so if you have any questions, just type it in the chat. I might take a few minutes to react. Okay, and then let's start. So the novel is, at least that's the working title, that's Clouds of Venus. One moment, please. I'll move the thing a bit. Zip. Move it and move myself a little bit. Okay. So, and the tool I'm using, and that is my favorite tool, is called Overleaf. If you need any introduction for that, that's on my website. It's on the lower right here, and my other videos on YouTube. Okay, so where were we? So last time, as I said, we read together through the introduction, through the individual chapters, and talked about how to improve it. The main topic we talked about, if I remember correctly, is the question really of the narrator. So should the narrator be all knowing, or should the narrator be just cinematic and viewing the happenings that are going on without looking into the individual persons, or should it be just the main person that we can look into her thoughts? And I haven't decided yet, although I'm strongly leading towards a cinematic view, simply because the whole idea of she thinks and all this introspective view is maybe a little bit hard to understand, and it gives room for a lot of exposition. So the challenge that I have to myself is to really make it more cinematic and express certain inner thoughts really by using really what the reader actually sees, or like in a movie what someone outside sees. So there's no like internal voice that you're hearing, so you're really seeing and reading the whole thing from your own perspective, from the outside. So that is a challenge. I'm not sure if I will manage to do it, because a lot of that novel is about neuroscience and implants and science fiction stuff. So that will be challenging, but we will see how we can get there. My previous version 2 years ago, I did use the all-knowing narrator, so there's a lot of room for me to improve and change. Okay. So what did we have last time what did we find last time? Okay. So one challenge we had, one challenge we had last time. Wait, let me check. Yeah. One challenge we had last time. Wait, I'll just one moment, please. I'll add a little bit of background. Oh no, that's okay. Okay, so one challenge we had last time really was about the how the hero or the character progresses throughout the story. And for this, I created a number of a short overview here about the different characters and how they're progressing throughout the plot here. So we start with a failure, so some sort of failure, and that means, okay, the confidence falls from high to low. So there's some sort of accident and it falls down to low. Competency at the beginning, okay, she's overconfident and she's then corrected. I mean, she keeps her competency, but at the end of the story, she should know a lot more about the world. And her confidence, that is basically the main plot, is going from high to low to medium to high. And that should be reflected in whatever dialogue, in whatever description we have. And this is just these are just ideas where the actual action happens on Mars, on Venus, and then finally on Earth. And at the end, she confronts her inner demons or whatever, why she left Earth in the first place, why she even went on that journey. Okay, so that is that, and we are just focusing now on the main character, and that is an astronaut, female astronaut, and we already found a few challenges when thinking about, okay, how could she be on a, for example, Mars mission if her competency was not high. And the challenge, especially in the first chapter, the challenge was we don't learn much about her competency. So first challenge is describe an overconfident but overconfident person with medium competency. That is basically the core challenge of the first part. Again, that's I should show it. That's this part here, and within the context of a Mars mission, and the Mars mission should fail, and that failure should go then from high to low with her confidence. That's something we should describe and put into a story. I mean, it is very abstract and formalistic, but that is basically our framework for our story. Okay. So describe an overconfident person with medium competency, and then describe or narrate the failure, and that leads loss in confidence. And then, that is basically this here. And and then that's the other one. So, and we have here as a setting, we have a Mars mission. That is also on the Mars mission. Although we could here say, okay, we could maybe describe this also on Earth, or on the way to Mars. And what we also said, that was last time, here we had a at the end, a character development, I don't know, 9th or so. We had a character development, one moment, character development where we say, okay, we had a character development where we say, okay, I mean, that is one idea, and we'll see if that works. We say, okay, she removes an implant and keeps her. I mean, that's a little bit of a trope that, oh, you really don't need that or this magical pendant or so, and you still have the courage, and that magical pendant was just to focus yourself or bring you over, like a lucky charm or something like that. But she learns how to act confidently without the implant, and that of course implies that at some point she receives an implant and gets a confidence boost. And the whole plot or the whole trick of the whole story is then, okay, at some point then she removes the implant and then she keeps her confidence. So she didn't need it even, or she no longer needs it. And then here's some trials in some form. We remember the hero's journey of Star Wars. I'll just keep bringing that up until you're bored with it. So where are you? So here we go. So those are then the trials or the ordeals here, and somewhere here that okay, preparing, etc. That she learned something and then no longer needs it. So that is the basic story we want to project. Okay. Trials, obstacles. So, and then we also discussed, we go here down, we also here, yeah, so she's shaken, lost in confidence. And then she receives an implant and gets a confidence boost, and then she goes back on a mission. That's the whole point. Gets back her license. Although license implies, I mean, today space travel is done, of course, mostly, well, probably completely with government approval. So I'm not sure what kind of license it is. I mean, you don't have like a private spaceship. I don't know. Maybe that's something to research. Like, do astronauts today have licenses or something like that? Or license approval, or maybe medical examination or so. And maybe her skills are that important that she's still sent to space because of her experience. Okay, last time we also talked about some sort of committee. So here, we had it. So there is a committee, and in that committee, so she's feeling guilt even if it wasn't her fault, and in the committee, that's a actual plot point then in the committee, and for that I will just rewatch a movie like Sully, and in that investigation she is rehabilitated, but still she's shaken from that experience. So, and then the outcome of that committee will be she wasn't at fault, but she has a psychological toll. She can't fly anymore, but there's a solution. She receives an implant. She gets a confidence boost, and then she goes back on a mission. She goes through some trials and obstacles, and she removes the implant and keeps her confidence. Now, this could already be a whole movie. I mean, as I said, Sully, the movie, is basically similar. It just focuses on a single event, and that's it. But we want to actually, and of course, the question is what is here in front. I mean, that is one plot. Another plot, I mean, that is basically the story of her. And if you look, for example, story of Luke Skywalker. So he finds some robots, then he finds the message, then he finds Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he wants to travel the stars. That was always his dream, and like really go through adventures. And then he found basically his mentor in Ben Kenobi. And what else what else happens? So they then take the plans to the rebellion. So they transported it. They have an encounter with the Imperium. They flee, and then they bring back the plans, and then they plan the attack on the Death Star. Basically, I'm just summarizing it there. But it is, of course, just one plot. I mean, we also have a plot of Han Solo. What is he going through? He is overconfident at the beginning, and his character changes. So he goes along, of course, with the plot of Luke Skywalker. He has some dealings with the smugglers. But basically, he goes along. So his development is more internally and really getting more balanced, basically. And we have, of course, Leia, who's not really going through a change. Maybe her view of, for example, Han Solo changes a bit, and she gets a little bit down from her position, but other than that, she's captured, she's interrogated, and she also goes along with the group and with the goal of destroying also the Death Star and fleeing and joining the rebellion again, etc. So there are maybe some political things going on, but that is on the side. But really carrying the whole thing is Luke Skywalker, and he is going through the most of the changes. And really, that's also the character that the viewer is intended to join, and that is really also the main factor. And if you look at it, I mean, I think it's he is probably the favorite character in the whole thing. That can be seen, for example, in his appearance in Mandalorian or so. Okay, so that is really the core thing, and everything else is basically attached. But still, we have some other character that goes through some changes, and that is basically the world itself. My goal is not just to have a static world, but a changing world, and in that world there is there is a crisis, and that is basically the framework. So the crisis itself won't be like really the focal point, but it is basically what is going on the side, what people see in the news. And if there are any time spans between those steps here, between those 8 steps, that is basically then happening to the world. So it's not a static world, it's a dynamic world. And that dynamic world is basically a character, and that character basically is something I'm currently building as a game. Already discussed it last time, and have it somewhere. Where do I have it? Yeah, and for that I created a trailer, and we'll just quickly look into it. I've updated a little bit. I think last time or 3 weeks ago I already shown it. Oh well, we'll see. So where did I put it? I put it under, let me check. I put it, here. That's the old version. Here's the one. I just have to check if it's with or without. Okay, I have a new one. Well, it should be okay. So, and I'll just show it. So just so that you have the context, that's 5 minutes. I'll take a quick break. You can also take a break if you already know it. Otherwise, just watch it. It basically describes the character or the character development of the world as such. I mean, as Earth. And in the next step, after the video, I will discuss the steps that world goes through while the other plot is happening. Okay. Whoop. And we'll So, okay, just to get you up to date to the conversion. So that is basically the background character for our world. And I will not write everything now down, but I will probably copy a lot of the contents then in the actual writing. Okay. So we have I think I called her Catherine. The person, Catherine, plot. So, and we have our character. And we have the character of, well, the character world. That's Earth. So there are now no like Mars or something like that. Like in the expanse or something like that. So okay, for this we can basically copy the description from the rule book basically, right, for the game. But again, that is writing a game is basically writing a novel. Okay, one moment. Whoop, zip. I'll just copy the story. So here we go. So this is, of course, again written here in terms of narrator, in terms of an all-knowing narrator. I mean, you don't know at this point that the asteroid is 5 miles wide or etc. So this is a challenge to rewrite this from a cinematic narrator view. So that will be a challenge. So I mean that's basically the text from the video. So I won't read this again. And that is the background story. So this we probably won't just put. Maybe we could use this on, for example, as an teaser, Amazon back description, because there we have to basically sell the world in much fewer sentences and describe what it's all about. So this is maybe a candidate for a marketing text, but not really a text to use within the book itself. Okay. So do I have a little bit more here? So the next part, I mean, you've seen this in the trailer, is about a different character, because in the game you don't take the role of someone like now in the novel, like an astronaut that is exploring another planet, but more a project manager or manager role, because games are more like managerial in that regard. At least the games I like. And the idea of the game is really to manage certain agents and to complete certain technologies, to implement certain technologies on the world, and then come out as the best manager and then be voted as basically the leader, someone who is uniting the world. And for the novel itself, you don't take that high role, like really of a manager or even the leader of a so-called mega organization, but someone lower, someone part of one or more projects. For example, a project that is Explore Venus. And by exploring Venus, the world will see life on Earth in a different light, and this might open the door for rethinking about humanity's role in the world. Just like the moon landing changed the perspective of people, would the discovery on Venus change the perspective of humanity on life in general. So that is the idea. So she is a member of a project, and basically her supervisor or her manager would be someone in the playing the game. So that is basically then the role. So she, at least in game terminology, she's basically an agent of that mega organization. Okay. So and of course that gives us also some more elements here for the character, but basically her position in the mega organization might be a plot point, but it is more a description about her. So more a setting here. So we also have here that's the Earth part here. So actually we have we could use two settings. So setting 1 would be on Earth, setting 2 on the Mars mission, or let's just write them down, on the way to Mars, and setting 3 would be on the Mars mission. And we could say, okay, there's another setting we could use, but we might skip that altogether, on the way back from Mars. And okay, here's here on the Mars mission. Okay, let's do this. So we describe the basic character like either on Earth, like working, so like joining or working at a mega organization, and on the way to Mars, but we could skip that. I mean, we could just say, okay, she arrived. But the second setting would, in all cases, be the Mars mission itself. And we could say, okay, we could also use another setting here on the way back from Mars. On the way back from Mars. But we could skip that. Okay. I mean, we could here use this as a point where we say, okay, here we describe how shaken she is from or even having guilt here. So let's just do it this way. So the setting here is basically, you could say, is a sub-chapter of that. So and the plot points are basically, well, chapters, although we might mix it. That's just now for our description of the character development. So shaken on the way back from Mars, or when she arrives back at Mars, at Earth, back on Earth. And there's a committee, and in the committee we say, okay, there's a setting, of course, in the committee, but maybe there is also a setting like with family, friends, or maybe she lives alone, and maybe that is also mixed maybe with this one. Maybe mix it with the because usually, I mean, it might be that she's outwardly strong at the beginning, but then cracks appear. And the question is, of course, what happens here from the committee to receiving an implant. Is it just like a visit to the doctor? Hey, just take this implant and goodbye. What is happening here? Here, where she basically goes through the transformation, where she say, okay, I can't do this, I need help. because this is huge, also a huge inner character development when she admits, okay, she's not that confident and she really needs help. So this is basically the admission of that she is not that strong, that it is okay to seek help. So, and if it's okay to seek help, of course, that again has to lead back that somewhere here we need a plot point where she says, okay, I can do this on my own. I'm strong. I'm smart. I don't know. Smart. I don't need help. Or maybe help was offered and it didn't help. So maybe she's hesitant here because she maybe lost confidence also in medicine. Maybe she has some sort of some sort of medical issue, and she sought help and she didn't receive any. So she decided, okay, she can do it on her own. Then she goes here through the plot, but then she discovers, okay, people, I admit I'm not the strongest here. I need help, and it is okay. And once she's now on the road of recovery, then she goes back on the mission, and then the main plot, the external plot continues with how the world goes. But we can add now in between those individual steps how the world works and how the world changes and how much time goes here by. So here maybe, let's say, okay, she's on Earth, then she goes on a mission to Mars. There are at least 5 years maybe in between. And 5 years means, okay, we have 5 years where the world can develop further. That is then a lot of action going on within a few months or even few days here. And then she returns, and then again, sure, maybe let's say 1 year. I mean, she has to return. That takes a few months. Let me check. Travel time Mars. I think it takes. I think 1 or 2 years, depending on. One-way trip. One-way trip is round trip is 21 months, but one-way trip is, well, I think it takes. Here's a nice graphic. This is, of course, always important to do some to not like invent something simply, because some people really like to have the details right. Otherwise, they lose immersion. For other people, it doesn't really matter. But some people really like the scientific part, and I do too. So these are the past missions, even going back to 1965. So the rocket technology didn't change that much. Because in the end, even if you're faster or so, you still have to increase speed, and that takes time, etc. So 200 days. So there's a lot of alone time here. Returns, let's say, just 1 year, maybe with some after preparations, and then eventually the committee starts, and she's then taken as a maybe even a 1 or 2 years. I have to check the Challenger catastrophe timeline. Timeline, but that doesn't include the the committee. Here we go. So that 1986 it was, and public response, engineering case study, the Roger Commission, that was even with Richard Feynman, who did the famous experiment, like on the committee itself, that the I think O-rings were faulty here. The O-rings were faulty because of the cold. I mean, because of the temperature. So, and that was released report 1986 in October, and the catastrophe itself was October in January. So they took 8 months with people on site if the spacecraft returns. So okay, I think we're good with, let's say, 2 years. And within that time, while the committee is going on, there might be some scenes or settings with family and friends or her personal life. And the question is when she receives the implant, maybe before, maybe after, but there could be here a time of could be any time. It could be 1 month, it could be 5 years. So we have to see how we manage that. And then to get her license back, that is also an own little adventure. She has to go to training again. Maybe she has to become fit again. So maybe training another 2 years, and then she's back. And then the trials and obstacles. That is that is basically the main story. Well, the main story in terms of world plot and not character plot. And that might be just 2 years or so. Then she returns, and maybe during the mission, and she returns. She returns as a new person. And that might be another year or so. So, and within those, let's say 5, 10, 12, 17 years or so, she becomes, of course, a more adult person. And as such, that's one thing. And of course, the world changes. And the question is, of course, how does the world change in that period of time? I mean, we already start in a futuristic world. So the question is here, what technologies that already were discovered. So the point is, in the game itself, it is about discovering new technologies. So there are 33 or around 60 technologies, and future technologies, and we can basically now select a number of technologies that were developed before the novel starts, before the Mars mission, or before even the novel as such starts. I mean, before we know more about her backstory. And then we look at what technologies are at the very end. And for this, basically, we can just take a look into the list. I have one prepared here. It's a long list, so we might have to be a little bit more selective in that regard. So that's a long list. And wait. There are some special ones. I will talk about them. So there are some special ones. One moment. Oh, well. So there are some special items, special technologies, or I call them revolutions. And of those 8 different mega organizations, each has their own goal in the game. And of course, as I talked about a lot in the last few workshops, games are basically story generators. And of course, writing a novel is not a story generator. I mean, we are the story generators. So the point is, we have to choose now a outcome. And we can't have like 8 different outcomes, but we have to choose one outcome. And it could be, for example, well, the world is restored, climate change, or it could be everyone is now part of a matrix and connected to a computer. Could be, okay, one faction takes over and builds space lasers in the world, space lasers. And the other one is World Tribunal, that the people responsible are put to trial, or a colony ship, people flee Earth. And each of those could be an own novel, actually. And I mean, we could now do 2 things. We could say, okay, this mission to Venus is such a revolution, it will change everything. Or we say, let's not make it too epic, the whole story, and maybe we'll go a little bit slower and maybe just focus on the technologies themselves. I mean, each technology has a certain effect on the world. For example, if you have a universal translator, then people of different languages can talk more easily with each other. Let's say you could speak, I don't know, speak Chinese, so you could easily talk with someone from China without a third person translating everything. It binds, or that is the point. It binds people together, although there could be an argument that this is not necessarily the case. Okay, let's leave this question open, and let's start picking out things we could use in our novel, technologies we would then also discuss, and just go here through. So and maybe some we could just skip or not even describe here. We could have, well, obviously Mission to Venus. I mean, that is what this book is about. But we could have either this or, we want to do a mind transfer. That is part of the brain implant. Maybe artificial organs, cybernetic limbs, even robot surrogates, basically robots you're moving around. And we could have artificial creativity. We could have holographic avatars. That's all not relevant. We could have emotional support droids. We could have, I mean, some of the technologies are relevant only on the Earth setting, so that might be something we could discuss later. For example, self-driving cars. Maybe this is then in the third part of the plot of the Earth. And we have, of course, mission to Venus is the center, in the center. We could have dream advertisements. Well, why not? Augmented reality, yes. Portable medical scanner, universal translator. That is just for the military. Maybe we could have some genetics, like perfect vegetable. We could have. So that's from this list. I mean, we will revisit this list a number of times. Permanent space station sounds good. Facial recognition, we just take it as granted. Quantum secrecy, we leave it out. That's a little bit difficult to explain. Arcologies, maybe back on Earth. So maybe either in the first or in the third part. I mean, either she already lives in one or maybe she visits one. Maglev, that's easy to implement. Automated factory, we might use it somewhere, but just as a description. Personalized medicine, that's something probably in the center story where she's getting like medical help that is just for her. Mind control, maybe somewhere in the story. The vaccine delivery doesn't really matter because we're looking at a space travel. Social credit, language, population control, firewall, supercomputer. Pre-crime, maybe if you remember the Philip K. Dick story, it's also filmed in, how's it called, with, not with Tom Hanks. Also a Minority Report. Maybe we could have that, maybe some robot army, but then really the question rises: what's actually the mystery of the book? So here we have to decide what's all about. So it's all like now taking stuff out of a box of Legos and then trying to decide what you want to actually build. So, well, we could talk about a pandemic. I'm not sure. Maybe during the mission or something like that. And she can't go back or something like that. Virtual reality, well, yeah. So we have a lot of options what we could have in our story, and there's a lot. The question is really, don't we have too much there? And some of the technologies we might just mention in a sentence or so, and for others we might take a whole chapter. So this is challenging to select what to use for that character or plot of the world, or how it's changing through technology, and what effects it has on society. I mean, it's hugely complex, and we have a lot of option, and we really need to decide here on the plot. She returns as a new person, and she discovers something on Venus. But what does she discover? So I think for next time we should look at more closely here. Wait, here we have here. Mission here, mission to Venus. We should really hone in what the actual plot is in that regard. I mean, what does she really discover there, and what changes does it have? So in the game, I used, let me check. in the game. Yeah, so in the game it was the idea of the game was it basically gives you a bonus for the transhumanist party or the transhumanist view. The question is, of course, what does this mean actually for people living on Earth? Let's say you discover life on Venus. What would change? Is this just some sort of news? Has this an effect on religion? How would the different countries react? How do people react to it? So maybe it's more than just discovering life on Venus, but maybe something in terms of consciousness, an intelligence or so that is maybe superior than but that is a little bit going a little bit into tropes here. So that is a little bit challenging, but we'll remember that, and we'll continue next week here on that and decide what is the actual mystery that our protagonist will discover and will bring back to Earth and maybe change the Earth, the destiny of humanity in that regard. And that will be the framework of our novel. And after that, it's a lot of mechanics to work in, really how to write the different scenes. But we already have those different settings ready. We have that character development in there, and we nearly finished the development of the character of the Earth. And I mean, some pieces are still missing. We need still some other people, maybe an antagonist, maybe, although it's a little bit antagonist low here, so it's not like she goes out to defeat someone. Also, it's a lot of inner journey, but maybe for the final act, this something she brings back will help maybe the mega organization she belongs to and defeat the opposing mega organization. So it also depends a lot on the intro of the character, what I hear her background. But I mean, what's certain, her background is not she's like a broken person here already, and in her childhood, and she has to overcome that or something like that. But here, really, she grows up and joins the mega organization and wants to reach something. So this is also, I think, an important point. Which mega organization of those 8 who want to rescue the world or flee the Earth or so which one will she join? My current preference, but I still have to think about it, would be that she joins the Solar Plus mega organization, who want to basically restore Earth with technology, but using a certain amount of government funds. So I mean, you can't just run a private rocket to Venus, and you have to, and Solar Plus focuses a lot on the climate. So really, the whole capitalist idea here doesn't fit well. So it's more like central planning in that regard. And Solar Plus is also more on the on the libertarian side when it comes to social issues. I'll finish up with just with the politics again. This one. One moment. I mean, it can be discussed whether or not this is something that exists or something like that. So the 8 factions are at different places. For example, one moment. For example, the independent peace forces are somewhere here on the libertarian right, and they are fighting against the Kitty Incorporated. That's more here, maybe here on the more authoritarian side. And we have the Autofuck Inc. That's they want to live in an automatized society. They are somewhere. They are somewhere here, libertarian life. So they just want to live as humans and enjoy life. We have, of course, their counterparts. They are where do we have it? We have the cybernetics. No, not the cybernetics. The Holoface Inc., who want to basically, up here, they want to take over the world and corner the world market and just have free markets everywhere, but as an authoritarian free market. Well, and of course we have Solar Plus, that they are somewhere here in the center. Well, maybe more on also here in the lower right. In the lower left here, center left. Well, and we also have cybernetics, who want, well, to put everyone in a matrix, so somewhere here on the top left. And we have the purists, who want to do away with technology, basically, and have a more traditional view of life. And they are more here on the libertarian right. And finally, the Church of Tomorrow, who want to use technology but keep people pure, but use technology to travel the stars. So they are more on the authoritarian right and use all the resources to build spaceships. And we have to decide, okay, which one does she join? So probably the Solar Plus, restore Earth, and as an enemy, the Church of Tomorrow, who want to travel the stars. Maybe she finds out that, well, maybe life on Earth is great and life in space is not maybe the best thing. But we will discuss this next time. So thank you for viewing. If you have any comments on it, if you have questions, if you want have your own story analyzed or that we would talk about it together, just message me. And if you have some comments on the novel I'm writing or the game I'm designing, just comment on it. And see you next Sunday, same time, 9 o'clock or 3 o'clock CET American time. In that regard, have a nice week, and we'll see us in hopefully next week. In that regard, yeah, enjoy and see you in 1 week. Bye.